So in this little video, I wanted to introduce to you some cue swaps. So simple ways that you can just change up an exercise to make sure that one, it's coming from the right muscles, and two, that we can hopefully in turn get a bit more injury prevention or less risk of injury by recruiting the right muscles and driving the movement from the right place in the first place. So that one of the first examples I want to use is the deadlift. Now typically most people have just been told to stand up, and then in the past they might have also been told to drive the hips. Now that instead might look like this. Your deadlift might look like this. Perfect. So what you might do from the bottom, you're initiating that movement from the bottom, which is fine. If Jake goes again, he first of all breaks the alignment of his spine by starting to drive through the neck. We can often see that that's his first port of call. He's just thinking about getting up. Then at the top, when he's at the very, very top, if you go again, Jake, he's now flaring the ribs. And then in the past, he might have been told to use his glutes, but in the end, he only uses them at the very end, which actually gives him this arch in the spine. There's no recruitment of the glutes at all in here. He's just getting really, really cranky through this lower back instead. So now to move on to the correct cues, instead of asking Jake to now just stand up, I actually want him to think about, even from that bottom position, already thinking about trying to drive his hips to the bar. And in turn, trying to bring the bar to the hips. Then at the very top of that movement, instead of leading with kind of his chin and breaking that alignment of the spine, I'm going to get him to keep his ribs tucked in and drawn down to his belt buckle. That will keep his chin tucked in and will keep this core nice and engaged throughout the movement. So if we go now, Jake, let's take a look at what that looks like as a difference. Perfect. So he initiates the movement by, he's got to get the bar off the floor, but as soon as that bar's off the floor, he's thinking about trying to take his hips forwards, drive his hips forwards. He's keeping his ribs down towards his pelvis, and naturally that keeps his chin nice and close to his chest, so there's no arch through that lower back. And that movement now has been done through his hips and through his glutes rather than through that lower back. So another example of this would be the dumbbell flies. Now again, historically you might have just been told to squeeze those weights up towards each other and bring them together. And you kind of get this clanking of the weights at the top. If I get Jake now to think about driving this movement through and trying to imagine he's trying to squeeze a pencil between his pecs, but then also trying to, at the top, trying to think about bringing his elbows together rather than trying to bring his hands together and the dumbbells together. Let's see how different that starts to look. Now all of a sudden he's getting a lot more chest and pec recruitment, and he's going to get less crankiness through the front of these arms and shoulders. So the last example here is going to be the row, and quite frankly any kind of row, whether you're doing single arm, whether you're doing a prone, supported row like this, whether you're using the bar for example, the same applies here all the time. Jake at the moment is going with what I would typically see, the dumbbell or the weight coming up kind of towards the armpit, and the actual dominant movement actually being created probably through the elbow, and the muscles being recruited more so through the arm. If I now get Jake to start thinking about actually trying to pinch his shoulder blades, and not up here so he's shrugging them, but actually more down here, and instead we're trying to drive the elbows back, not even thinking about trying to lift the weight, we're trying to drive the elbows back and bring that weight more in towards the ribs and the waist than we are the armpit. Now all of a sudden we're recruiting these back muscles, our postural muscles, that are not only going to help with our posture long term, help with our shoulder health, and we're going to be using the muscles that we're intending to when we're doing this exercise.